But now I want to let me bring into this story somebody else who you should know about. His name is he's a Marine Corps general. He's a brigadier general in the United States Marine Corps named John Baker. Now, General Baker has served in the United States Marine Corps for 28 years. He's also a distinguished lawyer. He served both as a defense attorney and as a prosecutor in many, many military court-martials. Now, as a brigadier general, he's the second highest-ranking lawyer in the entire U.S. Marine Corps. And I told you there was something nuts going on here that you needed to know about that may end up pertaining to that terror attack. What is nuts here tonight is that that Marine Corps brigadier general, the second highest-ranking lawyer in the United States Marine Corps, tonight is locked up at Guantanamo. He's not in the prison cell blocks with the orange jumpsuit guys at Guantanamo, but he's locked up. He's confined in quarters at Guantanamo. And this is about as insane as it sounds. It starts in October of the year 2000, a little less than a year before the 9/11 attacks, when the USS Cole pulled into port in Yemen to get refueled at the port of Aden. On that morning, October 12th, 2000, two suicide bombers who were later claimed by al-Qaeda, they zipped up alongside the Cole in a small motorboat, and they detonated explosives that they had packed on board. They blew themselves up, they blew up their boat, and they blew a huge hole in the side of the USS Cole. 17 American sailors were killed. Now, a number of people associated with that bombing have been named and captured and killed in the years since it happened. But the guy they now describe as the mastermind of that bombing is this guy, Abd al-Rahim al-Nashiri. Now, again, keep the time frame in mind here. The bombing of the USS Cole took place in October 2000. U.S. forces captured Abd al-Rahim al-Nashiri 2 years later. They captured him in 2002 in Dubai. Then, for the next 4 years, from 2002 to 2006, he was held in CIA custody, in secret CIA facilities. He's one of the prisoners that the Bush administration admitted to waterboarding and subjecting to other forms of torture for years. So the CIA had him from 2002 to 2006. 2006, they sent him to Guantanamo. Then in 2008, they announced they would bring charges against him for the USS Cole bombing. Then in 2011, they finally arraigned him. So it's been a long haul already, right? But this case has been plodding along ever since through the not quite a court system that they've got set up down there in Guantanamo. And in that case, things have now gone slightly bananas. And that is what has resulted in the imprisonment of the #2 lawyer in the United States Marine Corps, a brigadier general. He is locked up as of right now, as of today. And here's how it went crazy. So Nashiri, the alleged USS Cole bombing mastermind, he's charged with a capital crime, which means they want the death penalty. When you're charged with a capital crime, you need to have a lawyer who has experience in dealing with capital cases. The way they put that in legalese is that you need to have a lawyer who is of learned counsel, or sometimes they say it's a lawyer who's death qualified, somebody who's worked capital cases before. Nashiri has one of those. He has a death-qualified defense lawyer, this defense lawyer who has represented him for the last 9 years. Nashiri has him, and he has 2 other defense lawyers as well. Well, 3 weeks ago today, on October 11th, those 3 defense lawyers all quit Nashiri's case. And I can vaguely describe to you why they quit, but I can't tell you specifically because I don't know, because it's classified. Carol Rosenberg is a national treasure of a reporter. She has been covering this story and every other important story out of Guantanamo for the Miami Herald for years. And Carol Rosenberg describes the reason why the defense lawyers quit this case. She describes it as an ethical conflict. Essentially, she describes it as, quote, a lack of confidence in the confidentiality of their privileged conversations with their client. That's how Carol Rosenberg puts it at the Miami Herald. Now, again, we don't know exactly what that means. We don't know why these defense lawyers thought their communications with their client had been compromised somehow. Whatever the details are of that, it's not only classified, so it doesn't make it into the paper, it's so classified, these lawyers aren't allowed to even talk about it with their own client. So all their client knows is that his lawyers won't talk to him anymore about anything, and he's not allowed to know why. And nobody will talk about what's going on and why his lawyers have raised the objections. Nobody will talk about it, not only to him, but anywhere near him. It's a serious ethical concern, though, by these experienced attorneys who, frankly, have been through thick and thin in terms of dealing with these military commissions at Guantanamo. Whatever this is that has come up that they see as this ethical problem, as far as they're concerned, they see it as a no-go. They can't participate under these circumstances. And here's the important part. That decision by those defense lawyers that they can no longer participate in this trial, that decision by them to back out of the case has been signed off on. It's been okayed by the Military Commission's defense organization, which is run by the #2 lawyer in the United States Marine Corps, Brigadier General John Baker. Now, General Baker has access to the classified information about whatever it is these lawyers are objecting to. He knows what their worry is about communicating with their client. And knowing that and supervising criminal defense at Guantanamo, he said, yeah, this is a good call. I support your decision to walk out of here. I sign off on it. You have good cause to do this officially. That was 3 weeks ago. That was October 11th. 5 days later, October 16th, the judge in the case issued an order saying, nope, that's wrong. So the chief defense counsel, the guy who runs the Military Commission's defense organization, #2 lawyer in the Marine Corps, he may have purported to find good cause here for these lawyers backing out and going home, but the judge said no to that. The judge said that he disagreed, that there wasn't good cause. And he ordered the defense lawyers to come back to the court. So who gets to decide? Who gets to decide whether or not these civilian defense lawyers are allowed to quit this case on a matter of principle? Who has the authority over whether or not they're allowed to quit? Turns out nobody has any idea because this is a made-up court. So the judge looks at his trial judiciary rules of court and says, anything the defense lawyers want to do, well, the judge has to approve that. So I get to decide whether or not they can quit here. But then the chief defense counsel says, no, 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 no. You don't look at that guidance. You look at the manual for military commissions. And the manual for military commissions says, whoever appointed these lawyers, which was me, I get to decide what happens to those lawyers. I get to say if they want to quit, they should be allowed to go home. So it's a dispute. The judge says, this is my call. It's not your call. The chief defense counsel says, this is my call. It's not your call. Now, if this was a real court operated under normal constitutional guidelines, there'd be all sorts of case law and precedent and ways that we figured these sort of things out. This would have been settled by somebody else in the past, and we'd refer to precedent. But this is this Guantanamo mishmash of a made-up court system. And so it's the judge saying, I'm going to order these lawyers back here. And it's the chief of the defense counsel saying, oh, no, you don't. You can't do that. So the judge in the case is an Air Force colonel. The chief defense counsel is a brigadier general in the Marine Corps. And the two of them have been, oh, no, you don't-ing at each other over this for the last 3 weeks. So what's going to happen? Well, yesterday, the judge ordered this Marine brigadier general, ordered him to swear an oath in court at Guantanamo and to answer the judge's questions about what's going on in this case. The general said no. He refused to do that. Then the judge ordered the general to rescind his earlier decision, which allowed the defense lawyers to leave. And the general stood up in court and said to the judge, quote, I'm definitely not doing that. But oh, wait, there's more. Because it turns out Nashiri still has another lawyer left here. So he's got these 3 civilian defense counsels, including the death qualified guy, who've all left and gone back to the United States. But in addition to them, he's got a lawyer in uniform. He's got a lawyer in uniform who's a Navy lieutenant, an ex-Navy SEAL, who has a law degree. But that Navy lieutenant has never been involved in a murder case, let alone a death penalty case before. He is part of this defense team along with the civilian lawyers who have left Guantanamo and have gone back to the United States now, but he's not a death-qualified lawyer. So the judge yesterday orders the Marine Corps general to take an oath and rescind his orders yesterday. The general tells him, Judge, I'm definitely not doing that. After that, the judge then turns to the uniform lawyer, turns to the Navy SEAL, turns to this Navy lawyer, and the judge then orders this Navy lieutenant to file legal proceedings, to proceed with defending Nashiri, even though it's a death penalty case and the Navy lawyer is not death qualified. He's never worked on a capital case before. Nevertheless, the judge in the courtroom orders him to file legal proceedings. And that Navy SEAL stands up in court yesterday and says no. Navy SEAL says to the judge, "What I'm not going to do is make any more pleadings," end quote. So now what? Well, today the judge put the general in jail. The judge ordered the Marine general, Brigadier General, second-ranking lawyer in the entire United States Marine Corps, ordered him to serve 21 days in custody for contempt of court. He is serving it right now at Guantanamo. And that raises one particularly difficult question, which the general pointed out as the judge was sentencing him to confinement. The question, I mean, the general is a U.S. citizen and a general in the Marine Corps. And this not quite a court system at Guantanamo doesn't actually have jurisdiction to tell any American what to do, let alone to lock one up. I mean, this is a military tribunal system set up for foreign terrorists. This system doesn't have jurisdiction over U.S. citizens to lock up any of them, let alone a Marine Corps general. But they're trying to do so anyway, and the general is confined tonight as we speak. In addition to locking up the Marine Corps general, the judge has also declared the general's order about those defense lawyers, allowing them to go home. He's declared that order null and void, even though the general wouldn't rescind it. Now, the judge declaring that order null and void, I think, literally means the judge is now going to send U.S. Marshals, armed U.S. Marshals, to the U.S. mainland to hunt down these civilian defense lawyers and force them against their will to participate in the defense proceedings in Nashiri's case. According to Carol Rosenberg's late report tonight in the Miami Herald, the judge is apparently going to try to force these lawyers to do it, to physically confine them, I think by jailing them or threatening to jail them. And then he's planning, I think, to force them into a video link environment at a military base somewhere in the United States to participate in this case against their will. I mean, theoretically, I suppose he could have tried to kidnap them, to fly them out of the country and force them to go to Guantanamo, to his courtroom. But again, you can't really do that with Americans, right? No jurisdiction over Americans. It has been 17 years since the bombing of the USS Cole. It has been 15 years since the suspect in that bombing was arrested. It has been 6 years since he was first arraigned. We're now starting the 7th year of pretrial proceedings in this guy's case. And so far, the pretrial proceedings as of tonight appear to include hunting down and forcing civilian lawyers to defend him who have quit the case, to the point where some of these lawyers may be jailed tonight. And the #2 ranking lawyer in the United States Marine Corps is jailed tonight. And the defendant has no idea that any of this is going on or what any of it means or what any of it's about. And his lawyers will not speak to him because they believe they cannot speak to him without violating their professional responsibilities and ethics. So basically, aside from that, this case is going great. Today, in a camera spray with reporters at the White House, the president called the U.S. federal judicial system, quote, a joke. He said it was a laughingstock. He said instead he'd like to send the suspect from the attack in New York yesterday to Guantanamo. The president today said, quote, send him to Guantanamo. I would certainly consider that, yes. The suspect in yesterday's attack was charged by federal prosecutors today. In terms of the time frame here, the attack was yesterday afternoon. He was charged today, because that's the kind of speed that the normal U.S. federal judicial system can operate at when it comes to terrorism cases. It's also why they bat basically 1,000 when it comes to charging, trying, convicting, confining, and occasionally executing terrorism suspects. The president, though, today said that's all stupid. That's a stupid laughingstock of a system, and he'd rather do it at Guantanamo. He'd rather do it the Guantanamo way instead, because that sounds tougher to him. Who's going to break it to him how things are going down there right now? Maybe somebody could arrange prison visiting hours for the president with General John Baker tonight.